Right. You have some material to hand out. So 10 minutes is all you get. And at 8 minutes, I tell you, you've got 2 minutes left. If you want us to ask you some questions, please allow some time in your presentation, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Fenton. Good morning, everybody. I just make a point that this is really a joint submission between my wife and I, Janet. I support the Regional Council investing up to 80 million of Hawke's Bay ratepayers' capital in a water storage scheme that we all know in time will bring a substantial return to investors, along with huge benefits to Hawke's Bay's economy, enhancements for the Tukituk River driven by a lifting of minimum flows. There have been no better options put forward that would even touch the projected outcomes of this scheme. I want to start my submission by reminding regional councillors, when they come to vote on this investment, of who they represent and the oath of office they took. You are Hawke's Bay regional councillors, not councillors of any particular ward. To councillors who are members of the pro-amalgamation group, A Better Hawke's Bay, that trumpets the Winter Report, which states that the critical elements required to lift the medium to long-term performance of Hawke's Bay are 1. Water storage. 2. Increased primary production. 3. Maximising the value add from that increased production. Members of this group on council need to take heed of this unquestionable advice when casting their votes. You are all seen as leaders, some as growers, processing, packaging, marketing and exporting produce from that watered land. With that agricultural background, I cannot believe you of all people don't publicly anyway seem to understand the potential of this project. The farmers of the Hiratonga Plains would seem to just take for granted their access to water until a once-in-70-year drought comes along.
Can I just cut in there, Mr. Watts? I don't think everyone here is a member of Better Hawke's Bay, just to be clear on that.
No, some.
Well, whatever, but
okay.
Perhaps not relevant to the discussion.
Okay. Part of that? We're getting a bit of coming back. To begin with, let's get one thing straight. The Ruataniwha rivers are not pristine braided river systems, as some would have us believe. The rivers are totally modified, confined to stop banks which manipulate the river's natural course. They are lined with non-native willow trees from the mountains to the sea. These willows suck up millions of litres of water each summer's day and drop their caustic leaves in the river in autumn. Native fish are so hard to find that you would wonder if in fact they ever existed, having been cannibalised by introduced trout. The rivers are choked with invasive problem plants, blackberry, buddleia, along with 3 nitrogen-fixing weeds, broom, lupins and gorse. The riverbed, to keep shingle moving, is regularly raked by monstrous machinery, with shingle removed for roading and building construction. You can just imagine the damage that is doing to the riverbed's ecosystem. All this is conveniently overlooked by the green antis in their quest to halt anything new and progressive. Here we are just trying to make another beneficial modification to a seriously modified system which has undeniable long-term benefits for Hawke's Bay. To rebuild the existing stop banks that are so crucial for the protection of the productive farmland in our towns and cities in Hawke's Bay would involve a far greater investment than 80 million under consideration here. I have no doubt the same anti-progress people would fight building stop banks if that was what these submissions were about today. This is just the next stage in progress, storing water and using those channels to drive production and lift Hawke's Bay out of the doldrums. I bring no personal agenda, nothing to gain, but I am passionate about a province I'm a 5th generation of. I wish to see a Hawke's Bay, which we all know is so blessed with its climate and fertile soils, prosper. At present, Hawke's Bay is struggling near the bottom of all key performance indicators. A major flatland area of our province is production restricted in a large part because of a lack of access to water. You are to vote on whether to invest in the building of a water storage project that will harvest water in periods of high flow when it would otherwise run out to sea wasted. There can be no argument around this concept. New Zealand has ample water, but as summer demands increase along with predicted changes in climate, storage is the obvious and only option. This storage will increase average river flows, produce some carbon-free energy and provide hundreds of jobs in Hawke's Bay. It seems a no-brainer to me. I want a province that as parents some of our children would want to come home to and possibly choose to stay, where there are plenty of opportunities for high-paid and rewarding jobs. I bring a lifetime of experiences relevant to this argument. These all help to reinforce my own conclusions in support of this project. On leaving school, my first job was in mid-Canterbury, working for New Zealand's first Nuffield scholar, then the largest irrigating farmer in the country, using only pipes and sprinklers and sucking water out of creeks. Ashburton was a small rural town. Going back today, the change is unbelievable, mainly because of water, the lifeblood that gives so many options and security. It has been calculated that without water, Ashburton's district's population would be 7,000. It is now 31,000 and continuing to grow. In 1968, Waipukurau was rightly considered to be a prosperous country town. In fact, the business precinct was much the same size as it is today. Growth has stagnated. Central Hawke's Bay College in the 1960s had up to 900 pupils. Since then, the roll has dropped to 700 and now it's 550. Unemployment is high. The main street has many empty shops, with numerous others close to closing or only just hanging on. Livelihoods are in limbo, waiting for this decision. From what I read, it would seem a number of councillors have absolutely no idea of how crucially important your decision is to so many people in Central Hawke's Bay. Your vote could boost the whole of Hawke's Bay and give Central Hawke's Bay renewed life. In 1983, 31 years ago, following a period of prolonged droughts, Janet and I put in one of the first large-scale spray irrigation schemes in Central Hawke's Bay. As long-term environmental realists, we fenced off our river boundary and planted numerous shelter belts, growing all manner of crops, peas, beans, squash, asparagus and grains, all processed in Hastings. Often our yields were as good and sometimes better than the Hiratonga Plains growers. A partner and I planted the hundreds of acres of apple trees in CHB. These orchards are now one of the district's largest employers. All production is exported through the Napier port. These orchards could not exist without water, and I'm sure there is potential for more orchards and other untried crops, but for better access to water. It is erroneous to suggest this scheme will only benefit a few farmers, as from my experience the farmers will deserve to be rewarded for their hard work and taking of risk. They will pay for this dam, including the interest on investors' funds. But Hawke's Bay in general will be the major benefactor through increased employment opportunities in Hastings, Napier, Napier's Port and the many other service-associated businesses. As I have good connections within every section of Central Hawke's Bay, I have no doubt in my mind that there is overwhelming support for this project. The antis are few, but as always vocal. These negative types continually contribute to public paranoia.
2 minutes, Mr. Watt. 2 minutes left.
Often through misinformation and scaremongering via complicit press. I've been on this Ruataniwha water storage journey since its inception, firstly as a landowner that would have been severely affected by one of a number of smaller dams in earlier proposals. I was voted onto the stakeholder group, very ably chaired by Councillor Debbie Hewitt and later joined by Councillor Tom Belford. This is a bold initiative, driven by people with a long-term vision for Hawke's Bay. We cannot live in the past. After all the years of hard work around this project by Hawke's Bay Regional Council staff and councillors, the millions spent on consultants building up the science and knowledge of the Tukituk River system, we must not let this once-in-a-century opportunity slip away, because I believe it will never happen again. One chance, one opportunity. It's in your hands, councillors. There are some issues around nutrients with the resulting intensification, but new science and farming methods given time will find ways of mitigating those problems. Large areas of already irrigated, intensively farmed New Zealand face the same issues. We all know with changes to farming methods combined with science that agriculture will maintain its importance to the New Zealand economy and our rivers will not become toxic. I'm going to run out of time, I think, but yep. I won't go over the South Island bit, you've got it there to read, but I want to bring my submission to a close with a quote from Winston Churchill. The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We've got 10 seconds. A quick question, Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Watts. Have we got enough information to make a decision condition precedent?
Well, I sat on that Ruataniwha, the group, and the information I've got at home is in banana boxes. You guys have got to work out whether you've got all the information, but I certainly felt as a stakeholder we were given heaps of information for a long time now.
Thank you, Mr. Watts. And thank you very much for a very full submission. Thank you. Okay, let's